start things off, one of my favorite things about Crash Kings is that you take the idea of a rock and roll band and completely revamp it. And due to your use of like no electrical guitar or whatsoever, it's just piano, bass, and drums and vocals. Was this always the case for you guys?
It seemed to be like an ongoing trend for my brother and I. Yeah, like when we were real young, we were playing in bands in high school and stuff, and usually, sometimes we'd add like a guitar or a horn, but it was always like the trio based, and we even had like a swing band in high school where we had like horns and stuff, but it was just very, we were very really, really into the trio. And when we were at Berkeley in Boston, we had an organ trio where I was playing like a Hammond organ and bass and drums, and we were just always into that kind of format so much, and so it's been like a common kind of thing for Mike and I. And I think at a younger age, we kind of figured out that it would be really easy to have a band with just the two of us and a drummer, so that we had complete control all over most of the harmonic and melodic stuff that was going on, and that it would just be because we communicate really fast and we understand what we're doing, and that it would make things easier for us, and we'd be able to crank out tunes faster and be able to work a lot easier together. So yeah, that's always been something that we've that's always been our thing, and in terms of forming Crash Kings, we were thinking, well, let's get it together and see how big of a sound we can make with just the three of us, and it ended up being pretty big that we felt like we could utilize these three instruments and try to make a really big sound. So we felt like we were able to do that,
Yeah, no, I think it works,
Yeah.
Now, like, what leads me on to like my follow-up is, but I still, and I'm not the only ears that have heard this, is that there's still some sort of guitar twang and feedback on that. Now, I know a musician never reveals his secrets, but can you kind of give us an idea on how that comes about?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's not really so much of a secret. It's like, and we didn't use it on the record, only on one song for Mountain Man. But it's basically this, it's a keyboard called a Hohner clavinet, and it's more or less an electric guitar controlled by a piano keyboard. So it's just it's got real guitar strings and real guitar pickups inside, and when you hook it up to some distortion pedal and a tube amp, it sounds just like a guitar. And mine was sort of customized in the late 70s with a whammy bar mechanism that's attached to all these 60 guitar strings, and so it allows me to kind of bend the strings like a guitar player can bend their strings,
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, so it's more of something we've been using live, and I think it's definitely going to be on the next record a little bit more. We kind of wanted to, the idea for the first record was like, let's just make a piano rock record with no guitar and nothing that would make anyone think that there is guitar. And I don't think we were completely successful with that, because I think people still think we use guitar on the record. But that was mostly because of my brother's overdriven bass tone that can sound like guitar a lot. And a lot of people that don't really know the difference between the instruments and everything might confuse that. But now I think we're just kind of people that hopefully will know who we are, and for those who don't, will quickly figure out when they see us live that we don't have guitar and everything, and we can start messing with tones that might sound more like a guitar, but there will never be guitar not on this next record, at least, not probably for a long time, if ever.
Cool. I mean, it's a subtle little tool. I mean, it definitely throws ear, like myself, I'm not a musician, but I love music so much that it threw me off a little bit, and I'm like, but I know there's not even in the liner notes. There's no studio. This is great. There's no studio musician sitting in on this. This is pretty great.
Oh.
So now with that, and this unique formula and sound that you kind of do, and changing the rock and roll aspect of things a little bit, do you think this helped you stand out in the plethora of bands that came from LA or are still coming from LA?
Yeah, totally. I mean, we if you look at all the bands that are on the alternative format on radio and everything, there isn't really one that doesn't have a guitar. And there aren't really any other piano rock trios on there at all. So I think, once people start to see, what we're all about, there isn't really anybody doing. I think, the other thing is that, guitar is an instrument that a lot of people can just kind of pick up and play a few chords and put on a cool outfit and get on stage and look cool and play. And if they're really lucky, then they have a hit song and then they get signed. And, but for someone to be like, I'm going to be in a band without guitar and I'm going to play the piano like a motherfucker, like that doesn't happen as often because piano has never been like thought of as so much of a cool instrument. It's usually just viewed as like a background instrument, that is a backing instrument. It's not like the forefront. It's not like at the, so it's interesting. So I think that like people I think generally when they're forming bands, they draw from their influences a little too much and they end up sounding too much like them. And for us, it was really important for us to try to come up with our own sound and try to do something that literally no one else is doing, and if they are, then they haven't quite, gotten to that point where they're as well known yet, but for us, that was just a really important thing to try to really, and I think that makes it more difficult, but once you keep doing it and it proves that, you can kind of shine a little bit more and that we become that band that has like, I think it's less and less, the fact that we have two brothers in the band is like, that's actually more common in rock and roll than not. If you look at some of the bigger bands like Jet, Stone Temple Pilots, Black Crowes, Oasis, these are all bands with brothers in them. It's more common than you even realize, and then you see all these other bands coming up and they're brothers, so the brother thing is not even a unique thing to us as much as just not having a guitar.
Well, that's true too. We've seen in the past 10 years piano-driven rock, but not necessarily this particular formula that you guys are using. Obviously Coldplay incorporates guitars. Ben Folds 5 was Ben Folds the piano, the drummer, and the guitarist. Keane was just...
Well, no, Ben Folds was the same form that we're doing. It's just that...
it's a softer, it's not a harder sound, if you will. Not that not you guys are loud rock, but it's, it wasn't as driving, if you will.
I think, for us, it was like, we didn't want to just do the whole Ben Folds thing all over again. And
right.
That's why we're not, we get that reference a little bit just because of the instrumentation, but our goal was to not have it be as jazzy as, we didn't want to come off as jazzy as Ben Folds. Like Ben Folds utilized a lot more jazzy chords and a little bit more like humor,
right,
so to speak. I don't know. He has this kind of like a quirkiness to him, and we kind of just wanted to bring the full-on rock, and that's sort of what we wanted to do, kind of different from Ben Folds 5. But it's definitely like the closest thing to compare us to. But of course, Ben Folds isn't really doing that kind of stuff anymore.
No, he's not.
His solo thing. So, but yeah.
Cool. Now.